We have Twitter, we have YouTube, and we have Facebook. So welcome to another episode live. It's time to go with the THRS deep cuts as we do on a Saturday night. I'm Andrew.
I'm Mick.
Tim.
Yep. we do have what looks like a on my end, so bear with us as we try and work our way through it. I'm not sure what it is. We'll try and get to the bottom of that at some stage, I'm sure. But coming up for your entertainment in this episode of Deep Cuts, we're going to talk about the latest releases from Chevelle, Orden Ogen, and local Aussie band Introspect. We'll have a hot topic in a minute, like we always do. We have links in the description of this to go and check things out, including us. So make sure you give us a follow. You know what to do by now. Hit like, subscribe, and give us your feedback. Jump in the comments while we do this thing live as well. We have access to comments from all three platforms, and we'll read them out and interact with you as we go along. We've got those reviews, got our links in there. Check us out on Patreon. If you give us any help by that, it'd be greatly appreciated. And as always, a big thank you to our amazing sponsors in Squidding, Screen Printing, Alt Cult, and Rockstar Finance. Their details as well as ours are in the description, so find give them a follow. And if you're watching this back later on replay or listen to the audio, just hit the description and you'll find those bits and pieces there for you as well. So those will all stay there regardless of what happens in the comments tonight as we go through it. Yeah, we've got a bit to get through as always. We'll have this one and then one more episode before we have a little Easter weekend break. But how's everyone going? Mick, how have you been? It's your second time in 2 weeks for you after a long break, so you're back with us again.
I know, back with vengeance. So, good, man. Sort of getting the, I guess the work-life balance a little bit better now. Before it was just all work and no life. So, finding that balance again. Still, it's a work in progress, but nonetheless, doing okay. And it's allowing me, like I said last week, to be more active with the show again. And so here we are. Here we are again on a Saturday evening our time to, talk about, 3 or 4 albums tonight. So, it should be good.
Nice. Good to have you back. And, you were saying last week that whenever you jumped on, someone else jumped off. So here we have Tim with us tonight. So we have more than just Mick with us. So, Tim, how have you been?
Yeah, pretty good, actually. Just cruising along, getting through the week, and, looking forward to Easter.
I think he came back because he felt guilty. So.
It's good to have you back, man.
I appreciate that, man.
It's good. We're finding a routine and settling into things, which is all working out really nicely now, I think. So it's going well. This platform's working for us aside from any internet lag. So like I said, if that kicks in again, it seems to be going okay at the moment. But if it kicks in again, just bear with us. It'll eventually sort itself out. For myself, it's just been one of those weeks where everything has happened. It's been crunch time, and I've got a lot of things done, not a lot of which is visible until it all goes to TV, until we do these things streaming. But here we are. We're doing our thing. Everything's good. I got to spend some time with my family yet again for my brother's birthday this time around. So it's been 3 weeks or so in a row. And we'll have a party at my joint for my birthday next month coming up as well. So it's all over the joint, but it's all a lot of fun. And everything's going good. Jumping to the comments over on YouTube, Bob Blaze has jumped in. Howdy, boys. Looking forward to the show. Thanks for joining us over there on YouTube. Appreciate your company tonight. We do have a hot topic as always, and this is one we just sort of thought up on the fly right beforehand. So, Mick, you're the one that sort of brought it up. How about you sort of give us a bit of a preface on what you brought up to discuss about tonight?
Well, a band that we've all followed and some of us have shared a stage with as well, Brad from Massive. He's now doing a podcast as well as many other things that he's doing, that he's now residing over in Germany, if you didn't know that. And I've been chatting with him for the last few weeks on and off and sort of getting, one-on-one interaction with him and sort of finding out what's going on. And he sent me the link to the latest podcast that he's been doing. Yep. And we agreed to disagree on some of it, as we do. But he makes a lot of good, valid points in it, and I thought it might be good opportunity to use it as a hot topic to see what you guys think of it. And it's about how rock bands have sort of fallen by the wayside in terms of evolving with the music industry and how it's working nowadays. So, yes, we've got Spotify and we've got downloads and, digital stuff going on. But he thinks that the pop artists, or artists of that genre are leaps and bounds ahead of the actual rock artists in terms of rock artists are still trying to sell hard copies of stuff, CDs and vinyls, and where he goes, there's no CD players in cars anymore. There's no, the average kid, 15-year-old kid, doesn't even own, a CD or a vinyl player. So you kind of, in a roundabout way, sort of only appealing to people 35 and above. For me personally, I think there's merit for all of it still. I think you've still got to cover all markets. I think it's important to have a physical copy. There's still people that generally are collectors, especially vinyl in the last, say, 10 years has really picked up again, and people are looking for those classics. And you know what, to be a new band and doing that, I think you've got to be in the market for it. He did make some good points, though, about the youth of today and how they perceive things. And so it's opinion-based. It's sort of whatever you think it is. For me personally, like I said, you've got to be in all markets, I think. I don't think hard copies are going to die altogether. I don't think Spotify or just releasing your music on a digital format is going to work for everybody. And I think you'll get lost in the shuffle. I think the internet, as good as it is, and yes, you can reach everybody around the world, and that's amazing. But for me, the net has made everything very much like fast food drive-through. You order it, you pick it up, and you leave. And, it's all done within 5 minutes. So you can post something, you can release a video, you can do all these things. And unless you put some serious money behind it, so it just keeps coming back to the top, within literally a minute or two, it's lost in the shuffle. Unless somebody's scrolling through or particularly wanting to follow a particular subject matter that you might be doing, it's going to be out there and gone as quickly as, you released it. So, yeah, it's an interesting one. I'll be interested to see what you guys think about it, because there's no right or wrong here, and it's interesting where we're going to go in the future and what's going to happen, because I don't see this being the future, but I definitely don't see it being something that's going to be a fad either. So, yeah, what do you think, Tim?
Yep. It's interesting because I think like Orange just got we got a bunch of CDs printed. And it's funny, as you are in the band, you pitch a CD, and it's funny. I just went, I've got nothing to play this on.
Yeah,
and I don't have a CD player. Yeah. I don't have a CD player, and I'm not in my car anymore. And it was fun because the whole band had the same experience. We all took it home. It was like, I think Brendan could play off his PlayStation.
No, wow.
And that was about it. So, having said that, it's like any business. You run you do a cost benefit analysis and see whether or not it's worth it. Because at the end of the day, printing CDs nowadays is fairly cheap, and it still helps to have some around for I know there are some community radio stations that still like to have some hard copies, just because it makes it easier for them to play in their rotation. So it is handy to have 50 CDs around, and if it means you sell a couple of them, then you sell a couple of them. So for the cost of because I think these days it costs $3 to $5 to print a decent CD. So for that cost, I think it's still worth it to do a little run. But as far as adapting, it's hard because Spotify and streaming and all that, as an app, they're so... People will argue that they didn't replace, buying CDs, they replaced radio.
Yep.
When the reality is they replaced both, buying the CDs and they replaced radio as well. And it's difficult to monetize. And so I can see the argument of why people were still going to CDs and vinyl and whatnot. Obviously, there's a huge vinyl collecting market now at the moment.
Yeah.
I think the key is to branch out into other forms of merchandising, and that's where pop artists have done better. That's why how many freaking metal bands now have chili sauce?
Exactly, or alcohol,
and,
or whatever,
or alcohol, or freaking herb grinders, and Yeah, like that's. I think that's more of the key, is to branch out and to look into exploring those avenues and seeing where we can make money there. Because at the end of the day, I mean, we're all in the same business: it's creating content and merchandising and licensing.
Yep.
So I would like to see bands take a bit more of that route. Having said that, again, I still think there is some room for things like CDs and vinyl.
Yep.
Not
It's
much,
funny
but
because-
it is there.
Sorry, it's funny because
No.
for all the flack that Kiss copped, they were years ahead of everybody else. Now everyone's trying to come up with different merchandising things, something they did from the 70s onwards, you know? So really, you've got to be that kind of innovative sort of artist.
Well, that's it. If Kiss were a pop band today, they'd fit right in.
Yeah.
Yeah, well, they have been.
They would kill TikTok, for example.
Yeah.
They would. Yeah. Did you have anything else you wanted to?
No, it's serious. Seriously, they would, because I mean that's how you make money these days. Is playing live and flogging merchandise, licensing, and that's what Kiss did.
Yeah.
Yep.
I think for me, the only biggest disadvantage, and it is an advantage, but the biggest disadvantage is, say you're buying music off iTunes, and I don't even know if people still do that. I don't do digital, you know, it's just not my thing. But you've got a list of bands, so you know you've got Eat the Damn Orange and Tragic Earth, and then you got Def Leppard and their songs, right? And that's all good and well, you know. But the text, everything looks the same. Whereas back in the day, a logo meant so much to an identity of the band.
Yeah.
No band has an identity these days. You know, like if you're not actively following these bands, you have no idea who they are, or they might sound similar to somebody else. And I find that there's no face to music, and a large part of that is the digital thing, you know.
The way you're going to have to connect with your audience nowadays is through Facebook and Instagram and Twitter. Unfortunately, I mean, the days of, you know, we've all done it, which is, you know, buying a CD based because the cover looked cool.
Yeah,
like those days are long gone.
Mm. I still think there's room to engage good artists, though. I still think there's very much a lot of room to engage with some artists. Here we go. Hang on. This is a random. Here we go. How we going?
Hey,
we're good.
Were you post or mid review?
We're in the middle of the hot topic at the moment.
Oh, what's the hot topic?
The hot topic is basically talking about how bands have failed to adapt in relation to the digital media industry, and it's to do with Brad Maher's recent podcast episode.
Oh, bullshit. That's all rubbish.
I actually saw a very interesting post on this.
Well, here we go.
Offer a different point of view.
Of course you can.
This made sense to me. So you have all your Spotify haters, and then you've got your other people that say, nah, you've got to get on board with the fucking program. So one guy actually posted in a forum, and he said, why don't you release a teaser single on Spotify just so there's something out there, but you have to buy the CD to get the whole shebang. I liked it.
See, the issue is I wouldn't buy a CD because I don't have a CD player. Like if I saw you,
we're allowed outside a loud bar.
Oh, sorry, Joe.
It's more trouble. Hey, Tash.
Tim. How you going?
Oh, Jesus.
Good.
hey,
Okay, we'll take over now with Tash.
Hey guys, nice to see you.
Hi, Tash.
I'm waiting for Andrew to hit the hang up button. Andrew's just going to go kill.
Tomorrow, Eat the Damn Orange's new single's coming out.
Woo!
It is.
What's up, bitches?
Yes,
it is.
double shebang.
For my birthday, where are you? This way. For my birthday. So happy birthday to me.
I think you're already celebrating,
The best
Tash.
part about that is it's Tasha's birthday, but we get the present of her ass on the cover.
You all get to see my butt.
Yay!
Okay. I'll try to bring this back to a somewhat normal thing.
Sorry,
Thank you.
We're at the Leadbeater Hotel to see Phil Jamison. So
No.
that explains this nonsense. We'll come back with a full review once we're all completely fucked up and film's done.
Beautiful. I'm looking forward to
Good.
seeing that on tape.
Enjoy it.
Love you guys.
Love you too, man. Have a great night.
Hey, drink up and rock on. Woo!
Drink up and rock on. Love you.
Bye-bye. Take it. There we go. There's a random segue. I'll take the moment to address some of the comments here. We had some comments coming in while you guys were chatting away there. Sammy G Banger has jumped on. Thank you for joining us on Facebook. And they said, I love CDs. Still listen to CDs on a daily basis.
I'm with you, Sammy. I still love my hard copies. So
yeah, won't be alone with that. Mark Woodhouse has jumped in with a couple of comments. Love my vinyl. Now my daughter is collecting, so well done. That's awesome. Love all the new stuff from Australian on records. Companies like Room Org and that are doing a great job bringing the goods. So yes, very well done to Room Org Records. We have a lot of respect for them and what they do. He's also said on the flip side, CDs rock as well. Anne Shaw from Ireland has joined us on Facebook. So hello to you over there. Thank you for joining us. We still have my vinyl and recently purchased a new turntable. Can't beat the sound. Love to have a physical copy and sleeve again. This is where there is definitely still a market for this stuff out there.
Oh, yeah.
Danny Skinner has jumped in on Facebook as well and said, hi, guys. I must say I miss spending time looking at CDs and records. I still prefer my CDs and records over Spotify. Again, will not be alone. That's going to be the general trend of the conversation. Dave Saul, friend of ours, has jumped in on Facebook again. If digital media suppliers would pay the artists fairly, we wouldn't even need to be having this discussion. I do agree with that. That is an issue.
There is merit to that, but I still think there's something special about a hard copy that you cannot beat, in a digital format. It's just something about having that and the liner notes. And I know you can get that all in a download, in a proper download if you buy it, but it's not the same as looking at it on your PC as opposed to have it in your hand and then playing it for the first time. I still remember some of my first records that I bought way back when, and they were pivotal moments in my life to who I've become and what I am now. So I don't think you're going to get that out of a digital format, So, yeah.
Dave's also jumped in, helpfully offered up either them orange pop vinyl dolls, perhaps. Yes, I think there's definitely a market for that, especially with
we do have vinyls coming out. We do have guitar picks and guitar pick necklaces. We've had soap in the past. We may have candles in the future. So
I'm sure you soap again for you on it.
Oh man, we could always use orange soap.
I'm talking to Jody about that one for you. Anne Shaw has gone, David Saul, 100% about media suppliers. Yes, agree.
At the end of the day, I mean, because we've always had the same argument as well with record labels as well back in the day.
Yeah, exactly.
It's all about to do, and the same with all of us in our daily lives. It's a relationship between employees and employers.
Yeah.
And who owns what and what percentage goes to where. And at the end of the day, us, we're all, working against it. It's the haves versus the have-nots.
Yeah.
And unfortunately, we're kind of, without having our own, without having control over our own media, there's not really much we can do, because at the end of the day, we've got to go to where our audiences are.
That's it. I think there's a big argument to be made in that, like in the funding issue, yes, I believe it's a critical problem that needs to be resolved, but there's a much deeper conversation than just saying the streaming services don't pay enough. I think it's a case of who has signed what royalty rights away and where the money comes from, who owns it.
But that's not a different That's not a different conversation.
Yeah.
That's the same conversation as, all of us have, with our workplaces every day of the week.
Yeah. Yep. So
it's just about exploitation at the end of the day, I think, and a platform getting, what they want and paying little back in return. So, and we've allowed it to happen, really, whether you're an artist or a consumer, we've allowed it to happen. So now is how do we get that back?
Yeah.
So it's fair for the artists, those that are creating it. I mean, when you look at even record companies, the best part about what's going on now is you don't need a record company anymore. You can just actually do it all yourself and cut them out. Now, you look at some of the deals, and this is probably going back maybe 10 or 15 years ago, but I remember U2 at the time probably had the best deal going along with Metallica in terms of per CD, how much the band would get back.
But also owning the market too.
Yeah, and that was like $6 or $7 out of a $30 then CD. Which, when you break it down, that's not a lot of money anyway, No. And if that's one of the better deals going around, what are some of the other bands that, weren't
I
quite as
remember
big. They'll
there's
probably get $2 a CD out of 30. So
there's
at
a
least with
really
this, you can sort of control it better, and hopefully. But on the flip side, you're still getting screwed by joining all the platforms and staying relevant. You're still not getting back the return, but you are reaching more people. So if you were to tour and do that kind of stuff, you hope that if your single or songs are doing well, and you can actually gauge that nowadays, you can see where you're hot in the world and see where your songs are moving around, and you got 1,000 plays in Italy and maybe only 10 in Egypt, for example. Then you may want to look at touring Italy in the near future, for example, because there's a good chance that 100 of those people might come and see your show. So that's where it works for the band. But having said that, we all do things not only for love and passion, but we also want to be compensated for it.
Yeah,
and we're not getting compensated for it, unfortunately, the artist. So, yeah, it's a bittersweet situation. As good as the internet is, I think it's actually hurting a lot of things as well.
Yeah, it's not just... Yeah, Tim?
There's a really famous article from about 20 years ago from Courtney Love.
Yeah.
But it was about how in order for Hole to break even on an album, they had to make $2 million first.
Yep.
So in order to break even, they had to make $2 million. It's just like when you put it out in context, now it's so much money. Back then, so it wasn't great then either.
No.
So
no, the difference is now back then was you had an advance from the record company.
That's
so
it.
It's like, we think you're worth. Well, we're prepared to invest 80,000 or 100,000 or whatever it may be. A lot of bands thought, oh, that's grouse. We've got all this money. Let's do it. Probably piss it up against the wall. A lot of it through drugs and alcohol. And then you hope that when you went on tour, you'd made 3 times the amount and it wasn't so bad.
Yeah,
but there was those, for every 5 bands that were doing that, there was 25 bands that were doing the exact same thing, but those tours weren't selling at all. So then that became one-hit wonders, So at least with this now, if you're putting more of your own money and more time into it, you're probably going to take care of it. Well, at least I like to think so, a little bit more. And hopefully with that bit of care, and hopefully everybody's on the same, on board with it in the bands and stuff like that, we, eventually turn it around. But at the end of the day, the bands are touring for a lot longer because that's where the money is.
Yeah.
And unfortunately, with COVID around, you can't really tour. So
not really.
It's making it really hard to keep everything afloat. So you've got to keep yourself relevant by releasing, I think, singles these days.
Yeah. It's a big change on things. I'll quickly go to some comments and I'll jump in with some quick thoughts on this. Tough has joined us on YouTube yet again, so thanks for jumping in. Right like the wind, fight proud, my son, you're the defender god, has sent hello to my fellow metalhead, so welcome back to him. He's got another comment.
That's a Manowar quote.
Yeah, well, there you go.
Gotta love that.
Gear Miranda again from Viking Queen. Yes, thank you for joining us once again. And listen to the album Hammer of the Gods on Spotify. Yes, I've actually started listening to that the other day. So we'll have some thoughts on that, I'm sure, later on down the line. Tough has jumped in. It would be a way to screw the corporate world to go back into the good old days when heavy metal was the underground king. There's a message in the underground side of things being embraced more as opposed to trying for the spotlight. Let's work with what you got and using that side of things. I think that's a different conversation. Not different, but it attaches to this one. That's very important. Tim, big friend of ours. Vinyl is king. There are a lot of people that agree with that. Tough again. I've got records and awesome metal mixtapes. That was a big thing back then in the day as well. But joining us on Twitter, David Clement, another big supporter of ours. Thank you for joining us on Twitter. And check out his radio show tomorrow as well, because he plays CDs on his radio show. So if you get in the comments, Dave, give it a plug, your show. And Dave's gone, don't be wrong, he's a collector. Yes, we are all great collectors. Tash, not enough to get on the camera. She has to say great night. Dave has asked the question, why don't artists build their own media platform? That's expensive now. The media is the money's not going to be.
You could argue Jay-Z tried it with Pandora.
Yeah.
And it just didn't really take off.
Well, you look at Tidal. That hasn't taken off either, really. Not by comparison.
Sorry, Tidal. That's the one.
Yeah. It hasn't been impacted by the consumer at all.
Yeah.
So
I think unfortunately, I think they're in a bit of a spot like it'd be like the television writers trying to take over Netflix.
Mm.
I think they've got too big of a foothold in the market at the moment to be able to knock them off easily.
Yeah, but what it comes down to overall, it's branding. Now, we know Netflix to be a brand. We know iTunes to be a brand. That's the next thing, and that's what Brad was touching on in the podcast. You have to brand yourself, and that could be 100,000 different items that you've got that are under the massive banner, for example, or Eat the Damn Orange or whatever it may be. So, but for me, if everybody's doing the same thing, you're still going to get lost in the shuffle. You know what I mean? Like, you've still got to find a way to do something a little bit different in a different way just to make yourself stand out. And I don't know how you do that in a digital format, because it's kind of like the template's all the same. So
interesting.
Yeah. But anyways, we could talk about this all night.
Yeah,
try and
wrap this one up.
Music.
Yeah, we'll get that in just a second. And sure, had the leisure. Nice to see you guys. Love the accents. Listen all day, but got to work now. Have a great night. We'll hopefully join you on the next cast. Thanks for joining us. Have a great shift. Good luck over there. Tough again.
Beautiful country, Ireland.
Sorry?
Beautiful country, Ireland.
Yeah, indeed. No wonder I have to speak my financial advisor before buying a heavy metal shirt. I got one on loan and still 3 payments to go, but I got free steak knives. There we go. Tim has jumped in, and this is where it comes to brand awareness. And that Halloween have just opened pre-orders for their new vinyl album, and there's about 10 different vinyl colors you can get. So that's how popular vinyl has become, and again goes into the branding conversation.
Carol talks to the same
I actually think that's going to be the future of selling your hard copy. Be the black CD or the vinyl looking CD, and then there's the different color vinyls, and
all the
that's be the way to sell it and do limited runs of those. If people like a certain thing that catches their eye, there's more chance of them buying it and supporting the hard copy, which then supports the band a lot better because they get the money directly. So
especially a band like Halloween, because they've got a large enough audience where they will have a certain number of people who will put a lot of money into things like that. Yeah. So if they're releasing 10 different types of vinyls, there will be a part of their audience who will, I don't want to say they'll buy all 10, but they may buy 5 of them.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, but we're comparing a band that's come from the vinyl era when that was all that was around. Vinyl and cassette. Yeah. So a lot of people be older and they will support that because that's how they've always.
Put it this way, man. Like I was talking to my sister earlier today, and I think she was saying like JB Hi-Fi is selling like a Taylor Swift vinyl for $80.
And people are buying it.
So, like, I mean, that market is
180 grams, and it's just that little bit thicker. That means
it's a little bit thicker,
so much better. So we can put $40 extra on it. Big fucking
and there's a couple of bonus tracks on there. So there's 2 discs.
I think the idea of putting exclusive tracks onto vinyl, I don't think doing a single and putting the most of your stuff on a CD is going to work. I think putting a couple of exclusive tracks on vinyl and not having those on streaming services is a way to bring more value to that product. I think that's a better way to look at that window. Got a lot more comments here. Dave's gone, thanks for the plug, guys. Radio show is Heavy Metal Thunder live streaming on 5ZZZ.com.au, 1 p.m. Sundays, South Australian time. So get onto that tomorrow. Who did we vote for? Who did we vote for on Australian Idol? We need a Heavy Metal Idol. Well, I don't get involved in that at all.
You were doing so well, Tough, until that comment. Now,
that's a weird one.
Taking it too far.
Yeah, for Viking Queen, they're actually looking at getting into a tour in New Zealand and Australia. Very cool. That'd be cool. Let us know how that works out. Tough has jumped in.
We'll get you on the show if you do come down. We'll do an interview.
Yeah. Yep. Tough's gone. I hope I live long enough to see the death of pop music. There. So there you go. There's a thing. There you go. And Tim's jumped in again. There's a belief that vinyl hold value after you buy it. CDs don't. And there is a point to that as well, because especially if you make them limited editions, then they do hold some value. I want to quickly jump in and say that I think that there's a deeper conversation around this to be had. I don't think it's as simple as us chatting about it here or anything else. But I would like to see I've said this privately amongst ourselves, but I think that it's time for bands to actually evaluate their marketing process. And I think it's almost better these days to simply drop your new album or EP or whatever else it is. Don't really hype it up too much. Just drop it, and then you can spend the time promoting it after the fact that it's out, because we are in that world where it's consumerism comes first. People want it now. So if you drop, so I think the old media cycle of doing interviews and all that sort of stuff and singles leading up to the release of an album is kind of almost counterproductive now. You're better off dropping the album and doing all that work after it's out to funnel back to the album and whatever other merch you get going at that time. I think it's almost time to flip the entire media cycle on its head, because whenever we do an interview with a band on the show or talk about a review, if it's not already out, the audience kind of don't really remember that it's going to be out at a particular date and time, because there's always so much going on. So that's what I think in that regard. Nikki's jumped up. So excited for the Orange release tomorrow for Tasha's birthday. Juicy. Yes, I think Nikki's more happy to see Tasha's ass on the photo for that. Just to throw that one in there as well. And Dave has a great radio show as well while we're doing the plug. So the Rock Shed plays current Aussie indie bands every Friday night. Another shameless plug. Find us on Facebook. So yes, go find their page. If you want to, Dave, put the link in the comments. Go nuts. But I think, yeah, there's more to do on this, but I think we'll move on to the reviews. There's a lot to unpack in that, and I think we found a few little hot topic sections in there while we're at it as well. So we're going to move on to our first review of the night. Check out the comments now, because I'm putting a link into Introspect, which is the first review for tonight. So Introspect, with their new EP, Midnight Sun, 6 tracks for 29 minutes, the second EP from the Sydney band, released March 2021 independently. Produced by Chris Blancato, mixed and mastered by George Oliva. This is a band that was brought to us by Marek Media, so thank you again for your work in this regard. We never got around to the debut EP Ad Astra in 2019, but it did cause quite a stir, so I did want to make sure we didn't miss this one this time around. So, Tim, how'd you go with this one?
I thought it was a very interesting EP. They certainly covered all their bases well.
Yeah.
You know, with that intro track, how it sort of sets the mood, and the way they continuously went back to the samples there to kind of tell a little story as they were going on.
Yep.
And musically, you know, they're definitely sitting in that excuse me, in that modern prog vibe, but they did put it together for an EP, and they had that little sampler thing going on, where you opened up with its kind of modern, you know, periphery style track, and then you went into the more, you know, atmospheric, you know, sown ocean style kind of stuff with the trumpets and the saxophone going on, and I thought it was done very well. I thought the interesting thing for me, what made it really stand out was the vocal. Okay. Much more of a focus on the clean vocal and that higher tone.
Mm-hmm.
I thought really helped this band stand out. We're talking about how do you stand out in a digital world. For me, this band has a recognizable sound because of that.
Yeah, definitely.
And that definitely held my attention. So I thought it was very good for an EP. Itamori and Stars End were my highlights, and 8 out of 10.
Nice. Cool. Mick?
Yeah, for me, I'd heard the name, and I think it might have been a couple of years ago. But again, like you or like the show, I didn't actually get around to hearing the first EP. So this is my introduction to the band musically. So for me, it was a real mixed bag of sounds. But it worked really well. It didn't sound like I like some parts and not others. I just thought it was balanced but very diverse. There's plenty of feel and emotion in the vocals, and musically, you know, when it went heavy, it hit you like a ton of bricks, and then when it really backed off, it was quite sweet and emotional and very pretty. I mean, for lack of a better word, quite nice to hear. The dynamics were exceptional. I thought the way they made the music sort of push and pull, and you know, it got intense, but then, like I said, laid back. I thought it was really well done. I thought the production was captured perfectly for this style of music. It just, everything suddenly sounded really good, but it wasn't pushing too hard. It was quite pleasant coming through the speakers today. I thought it was really well done. I thought it was just the right length. I thought maybe another song or two might make it drag on a little bit. If you like bands like For me, it was a cross between Tool, Soen, Meshuggah, and Deftones. So if you were to put those in a blender, you'd get Introspect. So I gave it a 7.5 out of 10.
Nice.
As much as I loved everything, I thought the Wisdom of Mountains was the standout track for me.
Nice. Cool. One thing that stood out to me about this EP was the use of the spoken track with the instrumental underneath it. It set the tone and the drama of this one, how it was opening up the EP and then toward the end of the EP again to really give you the emotive depth and the story aspect of this thing. Really, it set the tone for that. I think from there, it is very modern, progressive metal, done very, very well. You know, you get the tight playing, the digitized tones, all those things. But it was really nicely done how they blended space in with that digitized, very tight playing, all that kind of stuff. So they really did mix organic and digital very nice on this. I think the vocal had a lot to do with that, and the space they gave the vocal to breathe and show off some things there, which is very, very cool. So that use of space was nice. Felicity Jane is the vocalist, and I liked how her vocal was higher up and also a softer touch, because the way her vocal cut through was because it was not so heavily produced. That was the really organic aspect of this recording versus the studio focus of the musicianship and the playing and all the composition. That was really, really good. But that balance between those two, including the writing, was what really made this one really interesting to listen to. I think the guest spot from Lee McDonald on Mjolnir to bring some aggressive vocal was a good touch on this. They didn't overdo that whole thing on this EP either. They did make it a point to just keep it mostly to clean vocals, which made it much more interesting to listen to. And again, you know, a thing like saxophone is not what you expect, but that was actually a nice touch that was thrown into the middle of this one as well. I think piano was used nice on this, and I think that the emotion in the performances from top to bottom were bang on. You get it not only in the vocal, but also in the way the songs have been written and performed. You get a lot of that. There's a weight with this. There's a weight with all these releases tonight, to be honest, but there's a certain subtle weight to this one that, you know, is one that sucks you in and makes this one very, very easy to spin. They didn't bombard you with this one at all. I think if you like prog metal, you're going to get exactly what you want, but there's also something about this which does make it stand out from the pack just a little bit, which is very, very well nice. And I think for an EP, there's a lot to take in from this one, which is really good. But again, it makes it fly by, and it's not boring to repeat spin either. I think it's very, very well done. I gave it an 8 out of 10. I picked Mjolnir, Leap of Faith, and Star's End as my standouts on that. So there's a few different ones there to go and check out. Let us know what you think when you have done so. Now I'm going to go back and catch up on some comments in here. We've got Mr. Dead talking to Tough Sneezo, so those two are back and forth with each other. Dave did jump in though and say he's got his link there. So facebook.com/Crazy Dave Rocks. There we go. That's the link, people. So hit that and follow that show every Friday night. They're on. So you're welcome, Dave, for that. So Tough is back with Mr. Dead going, they're going, check my links out and on my YouTube thingy. It's all very technical for those on YouTube. And Gear from Viking Queen has gone, we go back in the studio next month, I think it is, and recording a new album. Steve Lynch from the band Autograph will join them as well. So that's a nice little grab in that one for them. So looking forward to hearing what they do next. Speaking of moving on to next, I'm going to quickly go and copy another link because we're going to move on to our next review, which is Orden Ogen. Now, I'm going to have to edit this because fucking autocorrect. I'm going to put that in the bin again. The amount of times you got to type one thing to let it register, you know, this is what you actually want it to do, and then you got to go back and do it again every fucking time is really painful. But anyway,
you said it wrong. You got to say ducking autocorrect.
Yeah, well, this is true, but no one ever fucking means that. I still can't believe that it's happened again. You know, last time I binned it and I said whole time when I went home time for messaging Jody. Did it again. It did it again to me. It's like, fuck off. It's never whole time. Like, not in that context, not when I'm leaving work. But anyway, moving on. Orden Ogen with Final Days, 10 tracks for 50 minutes, the sixth studio album of the German band released March 2021 via AFM Records. Produced by the vocalist Sebastian Steve Lieberman at Green Man Studios in Germany. This one jumped into our attention after being plugged by someone in the social. So if someone jumped on to one of these live streams, said, check out this band. So I went and checked it out and went, okay, we should review this one. So here we go. They were once hailed as being the true successor to Blind Guardian. There's a couple of cool guest spots on this one as well. But Tim, sorry, not Tim. We'll go to Mick first this time. Mick, how'd you go with this one?
Yeah, not bad. Pretty good. It was all right. Yeah, melodic power metal, man. But the difference between your run-of-the-mill power metal and this was it's heavier, and the production was heavier, and I like that for it. When you think of melodic power metal, you're thinking of your Night Wishes and so forth, and there's a certain production style that all these bands have. This doesn't have it. It's a little bit more layered. I must admit, I find the back end, so the second half, if there was a side A and a side B, side B is a lot stronger than the first half. The first two or three songs, I thought, yeah, it's okay, run of the mill. But the back end has sort of finished really strong for me. So the more it went along, the more I enjoyed it. So I wasn't crush hot on the vocals. I thought some of it was really good and some of it needed to go another octave higher. It needed Michael Sweet to come and put that high part on it. But it wasn't quite there. But having said that, it's definitely not bad. That's just a little nitpicky, acquired taste on my behalf. The playing was fantastic. If you do like that melodic metal, you're definitely going to like this one. I just thought it was captured really well. I don't know much about this band. This is the first album I've heard, and I know they've been around for a while, actually. I had a bit of a look today, and they've got a few albums out and stuff like that.
This is number 6.
Yeah. I gave it a 7 out of 10. I think whilst it didn't floor me, definitely if I was going to listen to this style, this would be the style that I would listen to more than a Nightwish and the likes. Because of the heaviness and the way it was captured. That's more my cup of tea. The standouts for me were In the Dawn of the AI, Inferno, and anything with Gus G is always going to get me, and you could really hear it in Interstellar. It just sounded like a fucking Firewind song. So, and I love Firewind. That was a really good one. I would probably go back and listen to some of their other stuff just to get a bit of more of a feel of this band and how they got to this point. But yeah, definitely enjoyed it. Didn't love it, but I did enjoy it. 7 out of 10.
Nice. Tim?
Yeah, very much agreed on the side A and side B.
Okay, yep.
Yeah, side B. I was listening to side A and the first half of the record, and it's definitely more. It was definitely more guitar centric than other, quote unquote power metal bands.
Definitely.
Even though they did kind of lean into that, big chorusy bits very so often, the whole time I'm kind of thinking, just from a personal point of view, I'd love to see the guitars take over a little bit more. But they had their little ballady moment in the middle, and then after that, the guitars took over, and I thought that half was a really good listen. Okay. Again, so what I'm guessing happened is they kind of, because as being hailed as the replacement to Blind Guardian.
Yep.
I'm assuming somewhere along the line they've been told to lean into that power metal thing, and so that's why the first half sounds like that, and the second half is probably a little bit more. I don't know. It sounded like they enjoyed it a little bit more. That's thing. If you're not a power metal fan, don't know if this will totally change your mind, but again, that second half is well worth listening to. Yeah. So again, it's a bit more. It's not as Dungeons and Dragony, synthy heavy kind of stuff. Yeah. So if you've ever listened to, I got more of a modern Ozzy Osbourne kind of vibe from this as well than the traditional power metal stuff. So yeah, if you like that, then check this one out. Absolution for Our Final Days is my highlight, and 8 out of 10.
Nice. I think, I don't know if this was meant to be a concept album, but I get the feeling it is one, because this is a story about, AI becoming aware, taking over things, killing off humanity, and then the impact on the humans that escape and the humans left behind to die. So it's a story in 3 parts, and it's curious that you both have mentioned the back half of the album more so than the front half, because the front half is setting all that up, and then the back half is where all the payoff for that kicks in. So it's a really interesting observation that you have both settled on that being there, which is actually kind of cool. I think for me, the subtle things in this one was it is that sort of power metal kind of thing, but it's much more of a sci-fi story than the Dungeons and Dragons kind of effect. And as such, they don't really lean into the synth work as much as they lean into the guitars, which is cool for me. What was really good was the detail in the production. There are little things like on the opening track, it makes it feel like it's a post-apocalyptic recording being played back about the AI becoming aware, because there's little glitches in the vocal performance and stuff, which is all setting into this tone right from the start. And so the subtlety and the detail, that was stunning to me. What they did on this one with little effects just here and there that really, helped the storytelling of this record really got my attention. If you liked the area on the album, The Source, I think this is one for you to check out. But also I think it's going to be a bit of an Ed Guy kind of feel to it at times as well, if that makes sense to you guys out there too. This is very well done. I think the performances are fantastic. There is those big chant-along crowd moments for the live stuff, which is where you get that more power metal kind of a feel going on, or battle metal kind of a feel to a degree. But I think it's really well written, really well performed. Live moments are fantastic. It would be fun to see this album played live from start to finish, just to see the payoff in that environment. But basically, it's metal loaded with punchy melody and riffs. The drumming on this I thought was pretty cool too. And I liked how you can hear everything. This isn't one of those ones where they've gone for the big sound wall and just made it crunched. They've actually left a lot of headroom on this one. You can hear every detail really nicely. That was very well done on this. I think everything fit together. It flowed well. It flew by. I didn't think this felt like a 50-minute record at all for me. I think it was a fast listen, and that made it, easy to repeat spin to. I didn't get tired of it. I like the harmonies in this one as well. I think that the flashiness and the lead was really nice. Like the Gus G touch was really welcome on this one. But I think that the rhythm section on this really did take the focus at times as well. It was probably more in the back half of the album, so I agree with you on that one. But that when that rhythm section kicked in, the riffs and the lead were going nuts. That was really cool. There's still that little bit of cheese on this one, but the cheese in this is more fun. It's not tacky kind of thing, and that was a really, nicely maneuvered trick. They could have really sort of screwed it up a little bit, but they made it fun and not tacky at all, which is very well done. Like I said, Gus G's performance was fantastic, but also Ylva Eriksson from Brothers of Metal. She made a beautiful vocal addition on Alone in the Dark. That was fantastic. That moment, middle of the record, was great for me.
Yeah.
I think this stays with you more than you think. The hooks in this are pretty fucking good as well. And I thought that the ending, the last track on this, was very, very well done for me. I loved this one from start to finish, and it could actually be a top 10 contender for me. So it's a 9.5 out of 10 from me. It is over. The final track was just, that stays with you. The lyrics, the storytelling in that song alone is worth the price of entry for mine. So that one, it is over. In the Dawn of the AI, Alone in the Dark, and Heart of the Android were my standouts on this one. So please go and check that album out. It's a pretty good review from all of us there. Tough is on the comments going, didn't mean to make you read all the back and forth with in the comments. Well, it's all good. But he has put in here, why can't that Iron Maiden poster be straight? So I'm going to move things and break the fourth wall here, because it's not a poster. It's a flag, which goes a fair way down. So if I put it actually sort of, more horizontal, it's going to take up about 9/10 of the wall space behind me. So I'd like to have some other stuff on there, not just that. It does get the point across. You can see Iron Maiden in the shot, though, along with right up there, which is good to have. And in the comments, Tufts also said, those guys are super metal. Thanks for that instant fave. So, yep, cool, good. Check them out. And Gear Moran is going, yes, check out Viking Queen on Spotify. Yeah, we'll have encouraged everyone to do that already. But now I guess we will move on to our main event of the evening for this week. So bear with me. I'll just go back to my little details here. Copy this link. Everyone can go and check this out. So dump this in the comments now. This is from Chevelle. The clip I'm putting in the comments is Self-Destructor. If you're listening on audio later on, I will add these tracks that we're linking to the episode here in the comments. We'll queue them up so that they will play for you at the end of the podcast on Spotify. So just stick around when the audio is finished to check that out. And if you are watching us on repeat, just hit the links in the comments, or actually in the description, you'll find these links that we're talking about here. But anyway, our main event for this week is Chevelle with Neuratius, I believe it's pronounced. 13 tracks for 50 minutes. 9th studio album from the American band, released March 2021 by Epic Records. Produced by Joe Barresi in California. 3 singles have so far been released, including Self-Destructor and Peach. This album is considered to be a concept album exploring themes of interstellar travel, mistrust in leadership, loss, and the past. Joe Barresi challenged the band to be more melodic this time around, and the title itself is an acronym for Nothing is Real and This is a Simulation. So let's go to, who went first last time? Forget. Tim, all right, so Tim, you go first this time. Sorry. Oh, okay. This will be good. Not a fan?
All right, look. I thought this album was recorded spectacularly well.
Yes, it was.
Tones on here were stunning. Mix was fantastic, especially the bass tone. That was sounded like a hot rod. Unfortunately, it felt like to me they got a really nice tone with a cool delay, and then set a nice fat groove behind it and called it a song.
Wow. Okay.
And I felt like that was a lot. There was a lot of There was a lot of that. There was a lot of feedbacky guitar tones with a 2-note riff played higher up than an octave higher with a delay on it, and that happened a lot throughout this album.
Wow. Okay.
And eventually, from start to finish, I just got bored of it. Don't get me wrong. I think doing that can work, provided that you play the right notes and have the right melody on top of it. But I just don't think they did that enough on this album. I think there were times when they did do it, but there were also times when they didn't do it. And as a complete piece from start to finish, I think this is fairly missing.
Okay.
Yeah, that's my review.
Interesting.
I think Peach and Remember When are my highlights. Like Endlessly was the one track. I think it's Endlessly anyway, where they change it up. But apart from that, it's very one-paced, tone-heavy groove.
Yep.
And then there's not really much more substance after that. Every time I finish this album, you've got our playlist where we listen to everything. It goes back to the start of it at the moment. Cicada Stone, the last Cicada Stone albums at the start of it.
Yep.
Similar idea, but with much better songwriting. So if Chevelle is up your alley, go check out Cicada Stone because it whips the shit out of this album.
Oh, nice. Okay.
Yeah, 6 out of 10.
All right. Cool. I wasn't sure where this would go for you, but all right, that sums it up nicely. Well done. I see why you got there. What about you, Mick?
Yeah, to be honest with you, I'm a big Chevelle fan.
Okay,
I've been for a while. I don't know all their stuff, but I'll probably be 3 or 4 albums I've got on CD. So I've known these guys for a while. Didn't actually know this album dropped, so I was kind of excited when I saw this is one of the ones that we're going to review. But there's a lot of stuff that Tim just touched on that I actually agree with. Whilst this is probably a heavier and maybe a darker toned album for a Chevelle album, it is very one-paced. They did need a couple of up-tempo songs to break up the monotony of the album. I still loved it. There were some parts where it did breathe and started grooving out and rocking out, and it was really, really good. But it wasn't for long enough. It was almost had like the Linkin Park vibe where something would come in and it was like purposely cut to a certain spot, no more than say 20 seconds because for that radio-friendly feel or whatever that goes on, to make it, just right rather than just playing it for the extra 1 or 2 bars longer, which I would have preferred. Having said that, it's probably they've got better albums, but this is certainly not a bad album. They're actually quite a consistent band, and this doesn't sound bad at all. I think the vocals are great. Like we've touched on, the production is awesome. Their albums always sound really good. That's like a hallmark of what they do. But yeah, other than being a little bit darker, it was very one-paced and it did drag towards the end. It sort of was really hard to get to the end of the album. The last 3 songs in particular, after the ballad, it was almost like you didn't really need to go there. The ballad could have been the finisher and that would have been it. Having said that, I still gave it a 7 out of 10 because I do like this band a lot. And I still think it's one of those ones that will grow on you over time. I think you need to give it a few listens. Probably Self-Destructor and Peach, which are the singles, were probably the best choices and probably the best songs on the album on a first listen. But whilst it's not their best album, it's certainly not a bad album, so it's definitely worth checking out.
Okay, cool. All in all, when you break down the three releases we talked about tonight, this is a pretty bleak kind of an episode. These guys are talking about the end of the world. The last one was talking about the end of the world, and the tone on Introspect wasn't overly happy either. So it's a pretty bleak kind of an episode this week. It was funny because, Tim, you enjoyed the last Deftones album where I wasn't a huge fan of it. Is that right?
No, I didn't like that Deftones album either.
See, I thought this album, where if you were disappointed like I was with the recent offerings from Deftones and The Perfect Circle, this would be an album you'd enjoy, because this was more like what I was expecting out of those bands.
Yeah, I like The Perfect Circle.
Okay. Yeah, I wasn't a huge fan of Perfect Circle's last album, so there we go. It's got that 90s, 2000s feel all over. I'm not a huge connoisseur of Chevelle, so it's good to get Mick's take on this so far, which is cool because it gives us some more grounding in what the band has done up till now. But I loved the mix as well. I think the mix on this was fantastic. Like, this was so well recorded, it wasn't funny. They kept the grit, gave it just enough polish. The depth is fantastic. It's got a nice snap to it. I like the way the drums came off on this one. It just sounded fantastic. I liked the droney tones. I thought they served what they were sought out to do very nicely. I thought that was all well done. But with all that, it's got like a vintage feel, but it's all very contemporary at the same time. So they've done a really good job in the sonics of this and the way they've recorded it to get, like, you know, the vintage sort of valvey sound on the guitars and that kind of stuff through the droney kind of effects. But they've brought it into the modern age where it's not so not dated in any way. It sounds very, very modern. So I thought it was very, very cool. What was cool about the writing on this overall was how everything was syncopated. I think the syncopation between the drums, the vocals, the guitar, the staccato kind of effect that was going on, I actually enjoyed that. And then on top of that, you got these instrumental breaks, which it's funny because Mick mentioned 20 seconds. There was one track on this that goes for literally 20 seconds. So the instrumental, you know, little interlude moments broke things up pretty nicely for me. So I did enjoy that, and also the way this thing swang. I thought this swang pretty hard. Like, there's a lot of that rhythm section is the anchor point for me in this one. Along, you know, the vocals were there, but yeah, just the overall punch of this was cool. Punch and swing was cool. Everything was, I thought, in that space where, yeah, I get the criticism about being a little bit one-paced. It's not really all that dynamic, but at the same time, I thought the instrumentals broke it up. But also the lyrics and the vocal delivery sort of helped that along for me too. I thought the story was really well executed. This is not a strict concept album per se, but they stuck to the theme and they executed it without being preachy about it, which is very, very good. And they didn't trade off any of the aggression either. I thought for, you know, the pursuit of melody, most bands will lose aggression. I thought they kept that, which was good. I thought it was all nicely done. It flowed nicely. There was nothing really, I really enjoyed it. I know, like I said, I get the criticism, but for me, it didn't bother me. I liked the way it droned and the paced out nature of it. It didn't go for overly long. It was still another 50-minute record, and I felt it was a lot of fun, and it sort of not fun per se, but it was interesting, and it stayed with me more than I thought it would. This one just sort of hits a bit from the heart for me. So I don't know, it grabbed me. I really enjoyed this one. So we'll see out there who agrees with who in the comments. We've got Tim has a comment there. I'll get to that in a second. But we'll go. I gave this one a 9 out of 10. I think Self-Destructor is pretty much a standout across for all of us here. I really like this one. So Self-Destructor, Mars Simula, and Pistol Star. And there are a few other ones in there as well that I really did enjoy too. So I thought it was a very nicely done album. Tim, our good friend Tim Caterson, has jumped in and said there were a heap of bands like Chevelle around the early 2000s that all sounded similar. I get that. That's
correct.
Why I think that's why this album was a good one to sort of step out of it. And it's cool that Mick said this isn't quite the same as the rest of their stuff too. And Tough, who's still with us on YouTube, YouTuber major ass monkeys won't let you play what a pack of self-important morons they are. The reason that God gave us a middle finger. In that, there's a backstory to that. We can't play clips in that on the streams because to do that you have to go through a mediation process, and it's a nightmare. And it only happens after you get your video pulled. And I'm not really keen on that. And I'd rather just sort of keep the content up there much more readily. So that's the explanation why we do so much talk. And because we also love the sound of our own fucking voices. So hopefully some of you out there as well enjoy us droning on the way we do. But that brings us to the end of another episode. Thank you, everyone, for sticking with us tonight. And hopefully you've enjoyed what we've brought to you. Make sure you give us your thoughts in the comments after you've checked out the music, or if you already have, get on there. And we'll try and revisit these comments and that as we go along through the week into the next stuff we've got coming up. So as always, our details are in the description of this, whether you're watching live or on repeat or listening to us, wherever you're consuming this. Thanks for tuning in, but our details are there. Go and check us out. Find us, follow us, all the usual stuff that we have going on. Check out our Patreon page. Any help you can give us, that is greatly appreciated. And
you're keeping Tim up, so hurry up and wind it up. You know,
we do that as well. We have made a regular with Tim. I don't know.
He's been yawning through every time you speak, Andrew. He's yawning.
I know.
So I don't know what that means. I'm not trying to put two and two
together. It was the first time. I'm sorry. It's been a long week.
Also, our sponsors, a big thank you to our sponsors, Squidding, Streaming, Old Colton, Rockstar Finance. Their details, as well as ours, are in the description of this. Go find them, give them a follow, and check them out as well. We very much appreciate their support, so give them a bit of love. Next stream is on Tuesday night, which will be an interview with myself and Nikki talking to Triple Kill. So that's coming your way on Tuesday night. That's going to be a lot of fun. That could get hectic, so tune in for that one. That'll be about 7:30-ish on Tuesday night. Our next episode we'll be streaming, on Wednesday night, which will be another Hard Rock Show episode, which will be 4 reviews in this one because we're going to take the Easter weekend off in advance. So we're going to cover Smith Kotzen, Tomahawk, Susie Quattro, and Evanescence in that one as well. Don't forget to check us out on TV. You can still do that until at least the end of June. So hopefully we go longer than that, but we'll see what happens after that. So 10:30 p.m. Thursday nights on Channel 44 in Adelaide and 10:30 p.m. Saturday nights on Channel 31 in Melbourne. Our next special, because tonight as we do this one, after we're done here, actually stick around on Channel 31, from 10:30 p.m. we have a 2-hour Mastodon special, which I'll put that together. That'll be followed by reruns of previous specials to do with our celebration of women in rock and metal, and also our Wasp versus Striper special will be in there as well. So go and check out Channel 31 from 10:30 p.m. tonight. Our next special after this one will be to do with Michael Gudinski, so more details on that will be forthcoming. We'll get to the bin in a second. We'll go to some comments. Tim was jumping. Sorry, I did that one before. Whatever. Tough Sneezer was saying that we are his portal to great metal. So thank you for tuning in and thank you for checking out the bands. That is the main reason we do what we do. So that is awesome. Thank you for jumping on board. And Tim, anything is better than watching Essendon, and that's coming from an Essendon supporter. So I do feel.
True that.
All right. Time for the fun part before we get out of here. Time to go to the bin. And Tim, let's go to you first. What have you got for the bin this week?
I've been trying to figure out a way to shoehorn this into an episode, but you see captains driving through the Suez Canal.
Okay.
Because I had to talk about this on the show because this is one of the greatest stories I've ever seen. like how does that even happen?
I have no idea, man. That's going down in history.
And how do they get it out?
They're fucked. They can't at the moment, can they? It's still stuck.
Man. He's still stuck, but like they're trying to like. They've got like an earth mover that you'd see like scraping the side of the road, like digging.
Yeah.
Oh, fucking
hell.
hell.
Like 10 tugboats, and that's the equipment they've got to get it out.
Oh my god.
Yeah.
It's amazing. And it's funny because I want to see the guy who's going to go through in there, the first guy to go through it once it's unblocked. Because the temptation would be to do it again.
Oh, yeah.
So sea captains, you can't drive in a straight line.
Nice. Yeah, I'll pay that. Definitely pay that.
Mine's going to be really easy tonight because I really haven't got a bin this week.
Okay, cool.
There was nothing that was really irking me enough. Not that I can remember anyway. So I'm going to respectively not have a bin tonight, and while Andrew just takes off, so now I have to drag this out a little bit.
The bin is hosts who leave mid-show.
Yeah, well,
that's exactly that. You know, like guys that run things and think they're bigger than the show and they can just walk off when they feel like it. Bin those fucking pricks. So, you know, we don't need that. Yeah.
My apologies.
Yeah, welcome back. You know, thanks for, you know, coming back and being a part of the show again. Yeah, but overall, no, I'm doing relatively okay this week, which is weird for me.
Nice.
So over to you when you're ready, unless you're going to take off again.
I'm ready. No, I don't need to, because I'm going to put C's in them in for chewing up power cables. Which is why I ran away to go, nope, you can't chew that. So that's a no-no. My actual pre-prepared bins, aside from the dog doing whatever the hell he wants, bands that go dark, very quiet, they just shut down after promoting heavily. They do all this pump up and then they go dark and there's no explanation for it. At least put a post up saying, sorry, but that's it, as opposed to no one knowing what's going on. As in deleting songs, deleting posts, the whole lot. It's a weird thing to do. I don't know why you would do it. I think it's kind of silly. I think Caesar's about to
actually, I do have a bin. I've got a bin real quick.
Yep.
I don't know if it's a Facebook thing. I don't know what's going on, but I've looked at a couple of bands' pages, and their shop now is no longer there. So you can't buy shit through Facebook. So I don't know if they've removed it. But I would buy the CD directly through the band. We'll have a link to Bandcamp or whatever. And today I went to 2 different band pages and they didn't have it at all anymore. And I know they've been there in the past. So if Facebook are removing different icons or buttons or whatever the fuck you call them, that's not cool, because it's just another way to fuck everybody over again, you know? So, if you're not aware of that, maybe look into it, look on your page and sort of go through everything and make sure that everything is where it needs to be, because, I did notice that today. So fuck that.
Well, on the flip side, I've got a screenshot to share with you guys and maybe everyone else out there. So there was a post that we put up. I think it was when someone passed away. I forget exactly who and what. But Facebook had been on this fucking massive tear about trying to get you to have a buy now or a shop link on Facebook to the Facebook store, not to external links. So that might be part of the problem here. They're trying to push you to, tag products in your posts to make you, sell shit. And I had one applied to one because it was doing well, because someone passed away, and those posts tend to, on pure demographics, go well because everyone shares and comments and all that sort of stuff, which is sad more than it's great for page interaction kind of thing. People are, grieving, quote unquote. And then Facebook sends you a thing going, this product you should tag with this fucking post. And it's like, that is classless. So there you go. But also, on top of that, going dark, and Dave Saul agrees with that. Yes, pet peeves, bands that do half-ass promotion. Yep, that's very true. I'm going to bin myself, not only for bailing on the show to save the dog from electrocuting himself, but also for I was hanging out with niece's nephew's brother and stuff today, and one of them is interested. My niece is interested in learning guitar, so she was coming over to. My sister asked me to tune up the guitar for her, so I tuned it up and started playing away. And my niece is coming over and starting to get involved, and I'm like so out of practice, it's not funny. So I'm putting myself in the bin for not picking up the guitar often enough and keeping myself relatively in shape, because it's fucking horrible how far things fall when you don't pick it up and practice enough. So I need to pick up the guitar more. That's for me to do.
I'm scared to get behind a kit. It's been about 2.5 years for me.
Yeah.
So the air drumming is really good, but I know that I feel it, and I'm like, that roll would be out of time. But nobody can hear it, so who gives a shit? So
that helps. Yeah, I need to get back into a bit more better shape than what I am currently. And Tough has jumped in, bin Carlton, then take him out, then bin him again, so they know the place in the world of AFL. They put the F in the AFL. Guess what the F stands for? So there you go. It's an interesting.
I tend to agree with that, but I think we should do a real good merger with that, and Carlton and Essendon become one almighty shit team. So they've had about the same amount of heartache for the last 20 years. So the Carlton Bombers could come together and be the elite wooden spooners. I think we could really sell that to Tasmania. So
there's that brand you're talking about earlier on tonight.
Yeah, it all comes together. It all works for all different things, good and bad.
Yeah, definitely. All right, I think we'll wrap it up there. Thank you all so much for tuning in. Those of us that have stuck around or jumped in and out or whatever else have you, make sure you check it out later on if you didn't catch all of it. Pointless saying it now, I guess. But oh well, it is what I'm saying. Oh God, I don't think this is going to be a good comment. Tough for saying and bring back Malthouse. I don't think that worked out.
Gosh.
No, I wouldn't recommend that one.
Hollywood wants Malthouse back.
No, we don't. Not at all. That one can be consigned to the annals of history as far as I am concerned. But no, thank you everyone for joining us tonight. Thank you to you guys for sitting down on another session and having some fun with us. And give us your thoughts out there. As always, people, the comments section will be going after we log off, I am sure. But for now, it's time for us to log off. So I guess it'll take me a second to do the final log off, but yeah, thank you all so much for tuning in. We'll see you all again very, very soon. Like I said, next stream is Tuesday night, then we'll do another one on Wednesday night. And thank you again for sticking with us. See you all soon. Until then, I'm Andrew.
I'm Mick.
As always,
drink up.
Rock on.
And get out.
while you can. Give me a second.